What if I told you that most men over 60 are sitting on a secret advantage, and yet almost all of them are wasting it? Think about it. Society tells older men that their value decreases with age, that they become invisible in the eyes of women, and that their best years are behind them. But history, psychology, and yes, even the insights from modern thinkers like CGP Grey show us something completely different. Women are not blind to maturity. In fact, they're wired to notice the rare qualities that only time, wisdom, and restraint can produce. The problem is most men never learn how to use these qualities. They chase youth, they copy the behavior of younger men, and they forget that their greatest power is not in competing with the young, but in mastering what the young can never touch: patience, presence, and quiet authority. This video will break down the exact psychology behind why women can't resist men over 60 who still practice this one simple thing, and why, if you're not careful, you'll end up throwing it all away. Let's begin. Most men misunderstand aging. They think of it as decline, a slow fading into the background of life. But in reality, age is leverage, if you know how to use it. CGP Grey often talks about systems, how hidden rules shape our decisions, often without us realizing it. And the same applies here. There's a hidden rule in attraction. Women don't just respond to appearances. They respond to the energy behind the man. For men over 60, this energy can either be weak and defeated or strong and magnetic. The difference comes down to whether you embody scarcity or abundance. When you're young, most men operate from scarcity, desperate to prove themselves, eager to please, constantly chasing. But by 60, if you've lived well, you no longer need to chase anything. You've built experience, you've seen cycles repeat, you've learned that very little in life is truly urgent. This calmness, the ability to stand still while others rush, creates a gravitational pull that women cannot ignore. Here's the twist. Most men waste it. Instead of standing in their power, they start apologizing for their age. They hide their wisdom. They try to dress, talk, and behave like younger men, hoping to fit in. But what women are drawn to is not imitation of youth. It's the authority of age. A 60-year-old man who speaks slowly, listens carefully, and carries himself with self-respect is more attractive than a 25-year-old who's constantly chasing validation. Why? Because women can sense the difference between a man who wants attention and a man who commands it. And here's where philosophy comes in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The secret of all victory lies in the organization of the non-obvious." For men over 60, the non-obvious advantage is restraint, not needing to be the loudest, not needing to be everywhere at once, but simply existing with calm certainty. Women crave that energy, even if they can't explain why. They feel safe in it, they feel guided by it, and they test it constantly. That's why so many men fail. They mistake their tests for rejection when in reality women are checking to see if your presence is real or just an act. If you collapse under pressure, you prove you're just pretending. But if you hold steady, unmoved, you reveal a strength that no amount of money, youth, or physical appearance can match. This is the first secret, understanding that age is not weakness, it's hidden strength. But only if you stop apologizing. For it, part 2, the power of not chasing. Here's the paradox. The less you chase, the more you're wanted. This sounds simple, but most men over 60 get it completely wrong. Instead of embodying quiet independence, they swing to extremes, either withdrawing completely and becoming bitter, or chasing desperately, afraid of being alone. Both destroy attraction. Women are biologically tuned to test where a man's center of gravity lies. If she can pull you off balance with a glance, a silence, or a question, she knows you're unstable. But when she realizes nothing she does can shake you, when she feels that calm steadiness, she becomes drawn in, often against her own expectations. CGP Grey once explained that humans live inside rules they didn't choose. One of those hidden rules is that chasing kills attraction. It signals neediness, and neediness is the opposite of masculine authority. At 60, your greatest advantage is freedom from chasing. You don't need to text 10 times in a row. You don't need to explain yourself, and you don't need to compete. You simply let her come closer or walk away. Either way, you remain centered. This is why women can't resist the man who understands this. While most men at 60 are still playing the old game, trying to impress, trying to prove, trying to keep up, the rare man who simply holds his ground becomes magnetic. Think about it. A storm can knock over trees, but the mountain doesn't move. That's the energy you must embody. When you don't chase, a woman begins to question herself. Why does he not seek my approval? Why does he not need my attention? What makes him so self-contained? This curiosity pulls her in because she's used to men scrambling for validation. And here's the real truth. It's not about ignoring her. It's about valuing yourself so deeply that you don't need her to complete you. That kind of independence is irresistible, especially in an age where most men over 60 have lost it. The question is, will you embrace this truth, or will you waste it like the majority of men do? If there is one thing that separates men who fade into the background after 60 from those who command attention without effort, it is emotional control. Most men never master this skill. They spend decades reacting, angry when ignored, excited when noticed, nervous when challenged. But as CGP Grey has often pointed out in his systems explanations, every action has a ripple effect you don't always see. The way you react teaches others how to treat you. When you lose your temper, you show weakness. When you over-celebrate attention, you reveal neediness. When you crumble under pressure, you expose instability. And women notice these cracks instantly. Man over 60 has no excuse not to master this. He has lived through decades of life's storms. He has seen betrayals, victories, disappointments, and cycles of human behavior repeat endlessly. If he still reacts like a boy, yelling, sulking, begging, he reveals he has learned nothing from time. That is why most women lose respect for older men. But here's the secret. When you are calm while others panic, when you are patient when others demand, when you stay measured while she tries to provoke, you show the rarest form of power. You show self-mastery. And women cannot resist this. Not because they want a man to suppress his feelings, but because they want a man who does not let feelings rule him. A woman feels safe with a man who will not break at the first sign of stress. She tests you not because she hates you, but because she craves to know if you are real. The modern world is full of men who outsource their emotions, complaining online, drowning in distractions, or reacting to every push. The man over 60, who stands firm, who owns his inner world, becomes magnetic by contrast. Philosophers from Epictetus to Marcus Aurelius emphasized the same lesson. You cannot control the world, but you can control your response. At 60, this isn't just theory, it's lived reality. And when you live it, you become a rare force in a world addicted to reaction. This is the second thing most men waste. They grow older, but not wiser. They become more reactive instead of less. Don't be that man. Master your emotions and you master attraction itself. Here is a truth women will never say out loud. They are far more attracted to a man's purpose than his looks. At 20, a man's body might turn heads. At 60, it is his mission that makes him unforgettable. CGP Grey once explained that humans often live in systems they don't even realize they're part of. One such system is the myth that retirement means a man's purpose is over. Society tells him to slow down, to fade, into comfort, to stop striving. But nothing kills attraction faster than a man with no direction. A man with no mission becomes heavy. He clings to women, he begs for attention, he makes her the center of his life. And though she may enjoy being admired for a time, eventually she feels suffocated. Why? Because a woman does not want to be a man's entire world. She wants to orbit his world. She wants to feel pulled into his gravity, not burdened by his emptiness. This is where older men have an unmatched advantage. By 60, you have knowledge, networks, and wisdom that younger men can only dream of. If you keep a mission, whether it is building, mentoring, creating, or mastering, your life radiates energy. You wake up with a fire that no woman can ignore. And here's the secret. Women are drawn to men who are going somewhere. Even if they don't fully understand the mission, they sense it. They feel the current of your purpose, and they want to be part of it. But most men waste this. They give up too early. They settle into comfort, brag about the past, and stop building the future. A woman does not want to follow a man who is stuck reminiscing about what he used to be. She wants a man who is still alive, still striving, still climbing. Think about the men history remembers. Were they the ones who slowed down after 50? Or were they the ones who kept building, kept pushing, kept leading until their last breath? Truth is simple. Your purpose is the anchor of your masculinity. Lose it and you drift. Hold on to it and women will feel your presence like a silent authority. You won't need to explain it. You won't need to flaunt it. It will simply radiate. And this authority cannot be faked. Either you have it or you don't. At 60, you must decide. Will you keep building your world? Or will you waste the one advantage time has given you? Here is the irony of attraction. The older you get, the more selective you must become. Most men do the opposite. In their youth, they are choosy, but after 60, they lower their standards. They chase any attention they can get, thinking that scarcity of options means they must accept whatever comes their way. This desperation kills desire instantly. But the wise man flips the script. He knows that his greatest advantage is not in being available to everyone, but in being selective. Scarcity creates value, and value creates attraction. Think of CGP Grey's lessons on systems. People value what seems rare and ignore what seems abundant. When you are too available, you become common. When you choose carefully, you become precious. Women cannot resist a man who treats his time, energy, and attention as treasures. Not because he is arrogant, but because he knows his worth. He does not waste his life on drama. He does not give his presence to chaos. And he does not bend for anyone who does not respect him. This is where many older men fail. They think any woman's attention is a blessing. So they cling, they compromise, they beg to be kept. But the man who still lives with standards, the man who chooses carefully, becomes irresistible, because his selectivity signals self-respect. Here's the paradox. The moment you no longer need every woman, women begin to need you. The moment you stop lowering your standards, women raise theirs to meet you. And when you live this truth, you discover something liberating. You don't need many women. You only need one who truly sees your value. This kind of man, calm, purposeful, and selective, is the rarest in the world. And women can't resist him because they instinctively know they are not his only option. Remember, desperation repels, but selectivity attracts. At 60, your power is not in proving yourself to every woman, it's in choosing which woman is truly worthy of you. In a world where everyone overshares, the man who knows how to keep mystery becomes unforgettable. Most men over 60 think that to attract women, they must constantly prove themselves. They talk endlessly about their past, their possessions, their struggles, their opinions. They flood conversations with too much information, hoping to be understood and validated. But what they don't realize is this. Attraction is not built on endless explanations. It is built on curiosity. CGP Grey once explained how human beings are wired to fill in gaps. When there is a missing piece in a system, the mind cannot rest until it tries to solve it. The same rule applies to human interaction. When a man doesn't reveal everything about himself, when he leaves room for imagination, a woman becomes drawn in. She wants to know more. She invests energy trying to figure him out. That's why mystery is power. Think about it. Which book captures you more? The one that tells you everything on the first page, or the one that reveals its secrets slowly, chapter by chapter? A woman's attraction works the same way. The man who reveals everything instantly is predictable. The man who reveals pieces over time is irresistible. But mystery is not about playing games. It's not about manipulation or pretending to be something you're not. It's about living in such a way that your life is full, your world is rich, and you don't feel the need to explain every detail. It's about being comfortable with silence, with letting others wonder, with allowing curiosity to do the work for you. Most men waste this advantage. They confuse openness with oversharing. They pour out their insecurities, their fears, their desperation, and they wonder why women lose interest. But the man who keeps a quiet edge, who speaks less but means more, who lives fully but doesn't broadcast everything, that man has the rare magnetism of mystery. And at 60, you have the greatest opportunity to embody this. You have lived a life full of stories, lessons, and experiences. Don't rush to share them all. Let them unfold naturally when the moment calls for it. Keep mystery alive, and you keep attraction alive. At the core of everything we've discussed, calmness, purpose, selectivity, mystery, there is one foundation: self-respect. Without self-respect, all else collapses. A man without it chases endlessly, lowers his standards, loses control of his emotions, and begs for validation. But a man who respects himself commands respect from others without needing to demand it. CGP Grey often highlights how systems work, regardless of whether you see them or not. Self-respect is exactly that, an invisible system that governs how the world responds to you. If you treat yourself cheaply, others will too. If you treat yourself like a man of value, the world adjusts accordingly. Women cannot resist a man who truly respects himself, not because he is flawless, but because he refuses to compromise his dignity. He sets boundaries. He walks away from disrespect. He values his time, his body, and his energy. And this radiates in everything he does. At 60, this should be second nature. You have lived long enough to know what drains you, what inspires you, and what dishonors you. If you still allow chaos, disrespect, and neediness into your life, you are not lacking women, you are lacking self-respect. And here is the beautiful truth. When you choose self-respect first, women naturally follow. They are drawn not to the man who begs for their approval, but to the man who approves of himself. They want to be part of a life that is already full, already strong, already meaningful. The tragedy is that most men waste this. They abandon themselves in exchange for short-term validation. They forget that the woman who truly values them will only arrive when they value themselves first. Self-respect is not just attractive, it is eternal. It outlasts looks, money, and even time. And at 60, it is your greatest legacy. Ending. The final lesson. So let's return to the question we began with. Why can't women resist certain men over 60? It isn't about wealth. It isn't about looks. It isn't even about charm. It's about something deeper. It's about the rare man who refuses to waste the hidden advantages of age. The man who controls his emotions instead of being controlled by them. The man who lives with purpose instead of drifting into comfort. The man who is selective instead of desperate. The man who embodies mystery instead of oversharing. The man who guards his self-respect above all else. This is the man women cannot ignore. Because in a world full of noise, he is silence. In a world full of chaos, he is order. In a world full of boys pretending to be men, he is the real thing. And that is your challenge. If you are over 60, you already have the advantage. Time has given you the lessons, the patience, and the authority younger men cannot fake. But the question is, will you waste it or will you use it? Remember this. Women can't resist men over 60 who still embody these timeless truths. But the tragedy is that most men never realize it. Don't be like most men. Step into your power. Live it, own it, and let the world feel it. Because true masculinity doesn't fade with age. It becomes stronger,